All right, what's going on, everyone? Wanted to take a couple moments and talk about what transpired last night in the Cincinnati and the Buffalo game with Damar Hamlin, the safety that, as we know, is in critical condition as we speak after just honestly what I believe is a freak accident. Um, just a horrible situation last night tackling T. Higgins from Cincinnati and, um, getting up. And for those that know how much I love the sport of boxing and cover and call the fights, it just reminded me of a fighter basically getting knocked down on his feet and then falling back. And I got to tell you, so, we talk about this a lot, and I'm going to give you some updates as well for the game itself. But it's kind of it's secondary, it's not primary, right? So I wanted to just kind of share some of my thoughts, my opinions on really, the league, how it was handled, the role I think and responsibility of the media going forward in a situation like this. Look, his health is paramount, and a couple things of note, right? So you watch it unfold last night, and I've never in 20 something odd years of broadcasting and covering sports, um, 20 plus, I've never uh, saw something like that in an event, a sporting event. But I can tell you, if you've ever been up close and personal, which I've had, seen someone uh, given CPR. It's an outer body experience. It's a very traumatic experience. It's a memory, a lingering effect that just does not go away. So, you watch this unfold last night, and once the kid went down, you knew something was wrong, and you have to give a ton of credit and just respect and admiration to the heroes, the EMTs and the doctors and the trainers. They all rushed out, and you saw the Bills players kind of protect their fallen brother, so to speak, and really just to administer CPR and to get this kid back to life. I mean, think about that for a moment. So again, it's always that instant reaction, right? That rapid reaction. Um, at first, I was somewhat heated at the fact that why is it taking the NFL so long to uh, postpone this game or come up with a decision? Because we know at the end of the day, it is always about dollars and cents. Unfortunately, that's how the league is, man. We can't deny that. We can't dispute it. Everyone knows that. It's just that's how it is. But again, they did the right thing, whether it was the Bills or Cincinnati saying, we're not going to play this game. Um, I believe if their hand was forced, they were not going to play the game, to be quite honest. I honestly, I don't believe that. I don't believe that these players would have ultimately turned around and said, we're going to play this game. That's not, they just wouldn't have done it. They would have walked off the field. And this whole let's give them 5 minutes to gain their composure is utterly ridiculous. You're talking about, watching a teammate go down and then having that rush, that adrenaline, that emotion, that raw emotion come out into play, and you're watching him get CPR. You're watching this kid fight for every breath, and you're watching him fight for his life. Whether the NFLPA, whether the more I think about it, you can get bent out of shape on how it was handled. You can get bent out of shape on how long it took. But at the end of the day, they postponed the game because they had to do it. Now, they came about today. The league said that the game is not going to resume this week. So after speaking with both teams, NFLPA leadership, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, this is from Tom Pelissero about an hour ago, um, informed the clubs today that the Bills Bengals game will not be resumed this week. The NFL has made no decision regarding the possible resumption of the game at a later date. And again, that's the smart thing to do, right? Because you have to put that to the side. And I totally understand it's all about the dollars and cents and seedings and playoff limitations. And you would think, okay, if you got it in on a Thursday, you treat it like a regular Sunday to Thursday type of game, or when you play on Thursday, and then you get the extra time. I don't know, logistically, it might be a nightmare, but that's secondary. That's not primary. And it was a freak accident, right? It was a freak accident. That's I just, I don't know what more the league can do. I don't. I mean, I've watched the play 1,000 times, right? I just watched this play 1,000 times, and it was a freak. It wasn't lowering. It was the shoulder driven in. It was football. It's a freak play. We saw it, um, and that's it. And it just the hint, the blunt force trauma, boom, the cardiac arrest, and that's why they couldn't really even speculate on what happened last night. They couldn't. So, as much as I was so angered last night, you can't. I guess my thing is how 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 am I going to criticize the league because they got the right decision? And then the other thing is, logistically, what are they going to do, right? Because you're not just the business side again. No one wants to talk about it, but at the end of the day, the game itself has major, major playoff implications. And you have to figure out what you're going to do when you think about how it shapes up in the AFC. That's why I thought maybe you play the game on Thursday, but then they got to turn around and play again on Sunday. And we're advocating for player health and safety, and now we're going to throw these guys. That's why you ever notice you get bad product on a Thursday night football. That's why everyone always wanted to eliminate Thursday night football because it's a short week. These guys don't have time to recoup. Their bodies don't have time. You're never going to be 100% during the NFL season, but their bodies don't have time to get acclimated. I mean, think about this. I throw you out there on a Sunday, turn around short week, got to travel, say, on the West Coast and play on a Thursday. That's not good. It's not. It's not, and they're not going to do it because they have the broadcasting right and the revenue dollars. Okay, so and that's kind of where a lot of people were going back and forth, and you can't sugarcoat it, man. You can't. It's and you can't put it down. You can't block it out as a tie. You can't do that either. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. It was a bad spot. I thought the NFL, listen, from a broadcast standpoint. I don't know, man. I don't, you guys are chiming in. They got to play this game next Thursday, and then you get the rest. And for the play, man, I just don't know. And who's to say some of these guys want to go out there and play? That's the other thing. If you watch last night, and I don't buy what Troy Vincent said for one friggin' moment. I don't. The whole 5 minute thing, Buck brought it up several times. That was per the league from the officials who work for the league. The handbook, everything. 5 minutes, boom, boom, boom. So to suggest that they were caught off guard by this, you saw Joe Burrow warming up, throwing the football on the sideline, trying to gather his thoughts and composure. That's to me where it's just mind-boggling when we sit there and we think about it and we take a step back. So follow me for a minute. You have your teammate, okay, your brother in arms that suffers that type of um, I don't even call it an injury. Let's just call it an incident. And you're watching up close them administer CPR. Do you think within 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, you're going to be ready to go out and play a game? And if you're not, any football player will tell you this. Any player is going to tell you this. The game is 100 miles per hour. It's 100 miles per hour. So now I have to gather my focus and my train of thought. And I have to say to myself, I'm going to go out there after I just watched my brother in arms, my teammate, my friend, uh, pretty much uh, fight for his breaths, every breaths, right? Bring him back to life. There's no way. There's no way. So I don't care whether it was the NFLPA, Goodell on the phone, which we probably know. Again, you don't want to speculate. They probably were having a nightmare scenario about this. That's it. Get out there. You know for a fact the Bills and Cincinnati were not going to play that game, especially Buffalo. They weren't going to do it. They would have walked off the field. They would have walked off the field. Now you got to figure out what you have to do going forward. Look, it was a freak accident. Everyone's going to come down today and say, this is why, the NFL is. It was a freak accident, man. It's not like you watch Darryl Stingley and Jack Tatum. I remember watching the game live when Dennis Bird, again, freak accident, make a tackle, to the quarterback. I think it was against Kansas City 92-93, I believe, because it was an NBC game at the time. Um, and him and his teammates pretty much collided, and the head snapped back. And that was pretty much it. It was a freak play. Last night was a freak play. There was no, again, there was no targeting involved. I don't, there was no malicious. It just happened, man. It's a sport. And then you have the role in the media. And I thought, again, when cooler heads prevail, you're always going to have the jackasses out there, and we know who they are. You're also going to have these goofballs that host gambling shows and podcasts, degenerate guys that have to get the advertising in, have to get their picks out there. Look, do we talk sports gambling on my pod? Of course we do. Do I claim to be a handicapper or an expert insider? Absolutely not. My first thought last night was not to go tweet and worry about my freaking fantasy team or my bet if I was going to get a refund from FanDuel or DraftKings. You tweet that kind of stuff, you're tone deaf. And we all know what Skip Bayless tweeted, and Skip Bayless, we know these guys get paid a substantial amount of money because they need to drive the ratings, they need to drive the eyeballs, and they have to tweet out and say out calculated things. And listen, he's going to get his eventually. The fact that his broadcast partner did not show up this morning, that kind of speaks volumes. So, and I had this conversation with my buddies all this morning. Fire them, suspend them. Do you cancel them? Look, man, you can't control the idiots of the world that make these types of comments, right? You just can't. I thought ESPN, for the most part, did a really nice job in the spot that they were in. It's very hard. I know this from doing TV work. It's hard to fill time, let alone for a couple minutes, and then have to worry about a situation where a player goes down like this. There's really not much you can comment on. So you got producers, you got directors in your ear. They're basically guiding you through. Buck's a pro. Aikman's been around. He knows how to do it. The guys carried themselves. I thought Van Pelt did an excellent job. I thought Clark, who I don't always agree with, really was poignant in some of his comments. He's been there. He's seen it. I thought they handled themselves well. I didn't like early on. It was, hey, let's just see if the kid's okay first, and then we'll make a decision. I didn't like that, but that was pretty much, if you notice, that tone and that narrative was kind of Swatch going forward. But listen, there's positives, as crazy as it sounds, and blessings that come out of stuff like this. So already, um, Damar Hamlin, 6th-round draft pick, by the way, by all accounts, great kid, gives back to the community in Pittsburgh and whatnot in Buffalo. Had he was trying to raise money, like $2,500 for his uh, toy charity. And I just checked, like a Toys for Tots kind of kid for the kids in the community. $4 million has already been raised, which is absolutely fascinating. See, and that's one of the benefits of being on social media. That's the positive, right? And also too, I'm seeing some different merchandising stores where if you buy the jersey, 100% go to charities and to help him. The NFL, billions of dollars, right? Billions of dollars. So you talk about the insurance, you talk about the money that these guys make. You had the best of the best last night. When this kid goes down, I mean, think about this. Think about this for a moment. Back in the 70s, when the player passed away on the field in 71, that was mouth to mouth. They had to give him mouth to mouth. You have trained experts that jump out on the field right away, and they handled themselves. They took care of business under dire circumstances, stressful circumstances that you can't even fathom unless you've been around it and you've witnessed it. And they should be commended because they saved this kid's life. We're not talking about a torn ACL or busted ankle or dislocated shoulder. You had to bring this kid back to life. And like I said, it's people are gonna we're always gonna watch these games, okay? Because we're fans. We love the warrior mentality. Remember years ago they were glorifying these hits. Guys getting jacked up. Um, but you also have to have a little bit of humility. You have to be a little sensitive to certain things. And like I said, it's paramount first and foremost that you understand these guys are not robots, man. They got livelihoods. They got families. They got moms and dads and brothers and sisters, right? Aunts and uncles. So for this kid's mom to be there last night and to just want to watch her son, she was beaming with pride, watch her son play on Monday Night Football, pursued his dream. Here, you made it, 6th-round draft pick, good player, great teammate, good kid. And then to witness that, you know, that that's why I get so aggravated and frustrated and sometimes even upset to the point where I don't need my contemporaries in media to then make it about them and make certain comments or certain tweets that just are tone deaf and out of touch and just insensitive, man. And I don't want to hear, hey, you're being soft. I'm farthest from soft, right? I'm the furthest from soft. Okay. But you do have to have a little bit of um, decorum. You have to have a little bit of logic and friggin' common sense. And sometimes it's lost. So, again, I thought last night we saw some of the best reporting in the worst possible situation I can ever imagine. And then the flip side is, I also saw some of the most tasteless, deplorable, despicable, asinine comments, opinions, tweets from those that share a microphone. At the end of the day, the NFL, even though it took probably a little longer than we wanted, they did it. They did the right thing, and ultimately, you just hope that this kid pulls through. You send good vibes, good juju, thoughts and prayers and well wishes to this young man. He's 24. I mean, think about it. You got your whole life ahead of you, and all you wanted to do was play the game that he loves. And in an instant, it can be taken away from him. And it's just really, it's just I've never, like I said, I've never, so many games that I've covered, so many different sports that I've called, whether it's ringside or courtside or in the press box. I've never, I've seen high school kids get hurt. I've seen college kids get hurt. I've seen boxers get knocked out and taken out on a stretcher, which is scary. I can't recall ever seeing what we saw last night, right? Because this kid got up, you think everything's okay, and then it looked like, he just, it looked like he got shot and boom, right back down. So there's a little bit of my thoughts. Like I said, we're going to cut a couple different shows today. Lloyd Vance is going to join me around 3 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to try to get the big man Brandon Jacobs on as well, my co-host with 27 and Q. We got a jam-packed week of lineups. We always appreciate you guys commenting, sharing your thoughts. So keep them coming. I always appreciate it. But for now, like I said, we're going to prep for that 3 spot with Lloyd. Jovan Alfred's going to join us later in the week. Lake Lewis on what's going on in Washington. We will definitely get into some, obviously, the football on the field. Because we are winding down the final game of the season, but again, that kind of took a back seat to what's going on and what we saw last night. So, out of something so horrible, sometimes good comes about, but at the end of the day, right, first and foremost, you're just hoping, praying, wishing that this kid pulls through. That's where we're at right now. So appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk to you in about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll post that up on the YouTube channel on Rich Q on Q. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.